Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords, and today I've got another review for you guys. I am going to be reviewing yet another one of the more recent Lamentations of the Flame Princess books. This is 6x6x6, the Mayhemic Missile Method. 10 score and 16 ways for sorceress, witches, and other thaumatrophs to defend their indefensible persons by Ezra Claverie. This book, like all of the books that Lamentations produces, is, as you can see, very nicely designed. This one's a little hardcover, about the same dimensions as World of the Last Sun. Not as thick as World of the Last Sun, but the same length and height. In the inside, it's all in color. It's nicely ordered. It's only, what is it? 64 pages. As you can see, it has gory illustrations, which is par for the course with Lamentations. It has a bookmark, and any product that comes with a built-in bookmark is something that I always think adds points. That's the infrastructural material of this book. Now, as to what the book is about, well, the book is essentially a big one-trick pony. This is a book about the magic missile spell. So it mentions here, the Lamentations of the Flame Princess rulebook describes the spell magic missile as follows. Each magic user's magic missile is unique in appearance and always looks the same. Each different signature for a magic missile must be researched and transcribed as if it was a different spell. And based on that note, this is a book that has a collection of different ways that magic missile can manifest. And so what you have is 216 different options. You have a few different choices of how the damage is made for each type of magic missile. And you have 216 different manifestations, let's call it. And basically, you can roll 3d6s, right? So if you get like a 1-1-1, you start with the obsessive eruption, which is, I guess, that your teeth start to explode out of your mouth when you cast magic missile and it strikes your opponents. If you get 1-2-2, then it captures some of a single target's blood and splashes it into flamboyant but illegible calligraphy of 2-foot-high long characters in the air. And there's a wisdom check to get an intuitive understanding of some truth. Characters with no liquid parts suffer only a quarter damage from being blood-written, but slimes and other fluid beings suffer double damage. Right? So essentially, 216 different manifestations of what magic missile can be. Right, what it can look like. Some of them have very basic descriptions that don't really do anything except something aesthetic, and some of them, as you've already seen, have some particular side rules of things that can slightly modify the spell more. So the idea, I guess, is that when you create a character and you have magic missile, you roll to see exactly what the magic missile looks for that character, how its manifestation is for that character out of these 216 options, and that's your magic missile. So how much you want to like this book, I guess, will depend on how much you might find this book useful. Will basically depend on how much weird and gory crap you can take. How weird you want your game to be. I mean, obviously, because it's magic missile, you could use it in any OSR book. It doesn't have to be Lamentations, right? But you got to decide whether it's worth it to you to have a book with that just does one thing. That just does. It explains what a caster's magic missile looks like, and that's basically all that this book does. So, I don't know. I don't know how much someone really needs this, because, of course, a DM can just decide what it looks like, or a player can, right? So But I mean, that's true of anything with random tables. Now, I'm usually a gigantic fan of random tables, and having, if in a book, if I did a fantasy book and I made a table, I could make a table of, 100 different ways Magic Missile looks like. And that would be one table in a book. I think that's worthwhile. I think doing an entire book that's only how does Magic Missile look like, well, it's very much a one-trick pony. So you either got to really love that and think that you're going to use it a ton and that it's really a resource that, it is one of the most common spells in all of D&D, right? So there is that. It's not, 216 different ways of doing prismatic spear or something like that, right? There's at least it's for a very common thing in D&D. But this is the sort of thing you could have done an app of it. You could have done a blog entry about it, to make an entire book out of it. And a very pretty book, we must add, right? But, it's yet another weird choice from Lamentations that becomes, again, as I've been saying in all this recent bout of reviews of Lamentation books, each year, the newer products become more and more niche and more kind of desperate to top that specific style that obviously has a fandom. It's obviously working. I'm not saying it doesn't work for Lamentations, for Jim Raggi. He's obviously benefiting himself from it, because otherwise he wouldn't keep doing it, right? But at the same time, the more you do that, the further you get from God and from the rest of the OSR. So like you end up making products that you create a fandom that becomes more and more dedicated to the particular shtick, and the rest of the people look at this and they're like, if these recent products are the first thing that they're exposed to in Lamentations, it's a kind of a bar to entry, right? Like it seems like it's so much of it is so niche that you'd be like, well, what am I supposed to even do with this? And the utility in a lot of other products, not so much this one again, because Magic Missile you can use in almost, there's no Magic Missile in Lion and Dragon, but or in Invisible College, but in most versions of D&D you have Magic Missile, right? And like even in World of the Last Sun, which is set up for D&D, for DCC was the campaign, is the campaign of World of the Last Sun. There's Magic Missiles there, so you could use this book at least in many areas, as opposed to say, the book full of maps of places in the late 1630s, right? Which is a little too late, for most people's campaigns, or the book about how to use real magic stuff to be a better DM, which is just bizarre, right? So technically this falls somewhere above those two in utility. But it's still like, I don't know how much this costs. It doesn't say right here, but I'll probably try to put the link to it in the description, and you can see then how much it costs. But I'm guessing it being a hardcover and whatnot, and then when you add shipping and everything, you're probably going to pay quite a pretty penny, probably a lot more than if you bought, World of the Last Sun. You're going to be paying quite a bit of money for a very, very niche product. Anyway, I guess that's everything I have to say about it. If you look at this and you think, yeah, I'd be using this all the time, well, then go get it. Because in terms of what it does it well. I guess one thing you could say is that many of the entries are focused on the weird fantasy end of it. This isn't just like, oh, your Magic Missile looks like a spear, right? Or your Magic Missile is like a laser bolt or something. No, it's like, like I was saying, right? Like there's, tangled cables of blood vessels erupt from the caster's eyeballs, which lash to the full range of the spell and then retract. So it's like, this makes Magic Missile very weird looking and very gross most of the time. A lot of the entries are intentionally gory because that's the style that Raggi likes for some damn reason. Okay, so there is that. You got to keep that in mind. But if you don't mind that, then and you think, yeah, I'm going to do this all the time. Well, then pick it up. It does what it says it does. I'm not denying that. Just don't expect it to do anything else, right? That's all it's for. And caveat emptor, I guess. So that's everything for today. If you like this video, please share. If you think there's somewhere that, someone is going to appreciate seeing it or get pissed off about it, pass it on. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button. And also, of course, if you want to support me, check out my products, which tend to have a lot more range. Invisible College, Sword and Caravan, World of the Last Sun, Dark Albion, Lion and Dragon, Cults of Chaos. That's a very good generator for all kinds of crazy stuff. And, Star Adventure, so on and so forth. The Gonzo Companion, the Gonzo Fantasy Companion, which is going to be the next, it's kind of like the source book for World of the Last Sun. That's going to have a whole bunch of stuff that you can use in all kinds of Gonzo fantasy gaming, not specifically World of the Last Sun necessarily, right? You can use it to weird up all of your games. It's going to be coming out fairly soon, probably next month, I'm guessing. So keep an eye out for that. And if you don't have a lot of money, you can always just pick up some of the RPG Pundit Presents PDF series. Everything that I make is meant to be playable. It's meant to be useful. I'll grant also that Lamentations books tend to be made to be played. There are a few, like that Big Book of Maps, that obviously are not. They're meant as a resource or something like that, or to look pretty. But most of them are, right? And I think that's very important, that it has to be useful. An RPG book should be useful. It should never be just done for somebody's vanity collection, right? And so you pick up an RPG Pundit Presents edition, there's going to be stuff there that if you're running OSR games, you're going to find a topic that's going to be something you can use in your games. And it might cost you $2.99, right? So it's like you're buying me a coffee, but you're getting something in return that you can use. Of course, if you've got all of my products already or have no interest in getting my products but still want to support me for my political views or whatever, then feel free to support me on Patreon. Nothing happens there, but I really appreciate everybody who actually puts money in my Patreon for nothing except to say thank you to me. That's very nice of you. And okay, I guess that's everything for today. Currently smoking a Italian red bark, which I've spilled a little there, as you can see, plus Argento Latakia.